Mr. President, what do you know right now about why this happened? And can you assure Americans that there won't be a ripple effect?
Do you expect other banks to fail, Mr. President?
He just walks away like he's going to the restroom at a Denny's.
Oh my God, wow. He's spry for a crypt keeper. I'll give him that.
The dollar is set to collapse. Maybe, probably not anytime soon. But Silicon Valley Bank, which is a kind of like a woke, progressive ESG bank that mostly funded like crypto ventures and startup tech companies and things like that, got overly invested in T-bills, treasury notes, and mortgage-backed securities. And as the Fed increased their interest rates, they were expecting the Fed to like not do that and like pull back. They expected Jerome Powell to just like stop doing these things. Well, he didn't. The Fed didn't. And so their balance sheets came in and, they collapsed. They don't have the money and they couldn't liquidate enough assets because they don't have enough cash. So, there was then a run on the banks. There was Regional Bank. There was Signature Bank. Signature Bank has collapsed simply from the runs on the banks because $10 billion was pulled out and they don't have the money to sustain that because they were a very similar bank that was 90% invested with money that was well over the $250,000 mark because it's a big club and you ain't in it, right? And so we're going to be debating that tonight. So I don't want to give away too much of that. But, as of today, Credit Suisse hit an all-time high for default swaps. There's a list here. I could show you a list. I guess I'll pull this up as well. You'll probably hear me reference it at some point. Here's stocks from banks today. First Republic down 62%, despite the fact that they've already been promised to have all of their assets protected by the state. And of course, we are going to bail them out. We're not going to bail out the banks this time, though. What we're going to do instead is we're going to bail out and insure basically everybody's policy so that everybody gets money from the banks as a whole, right? From the cash flow as a whole. It's a really interesting thing that the Fed is doing because basically the Fed is going to be giving these money through this new program, the Bank Term Funding Program, and they're going to take money that they themselves print and pay it all off so that these people don't lose their money for investing in bad businesses that were leveraged in mortgage-backed securities. Basically what you're looking at is the problem's going to be solved. Everyone's going to be like, everything's okay. And what we're going to see is, a couple $100 billion just kind of printed and given to people and injected into the market, even though they lost all that money. And you're just going to see more inflation, more and more inflation. You, the tax dollar, you're not going to pay taxes for this money, right? You're not going to pay like a tax to the government to then bail it out with like government funds. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to pay a tax at the grocery store. You're going to pay a tax with, when you go to purchase products. You're going to pay a tax probably because of this banking situation in the sense that you're going to get less in your savings accounts and you're going to have to pay more fees at banks. We'll have to see where that money shores up. But rest assured, you will all be paying for this. For companies that leveraged themselves in debt and then got bailouts. Oh, and, by the way, they sold $3.6 million in stocks in mid-February when they knew this was going to happen so that they could walk away with millions of dollars.
That's like 2008 didn't happen.
It's actually
it's like everyone just forgot.
It's actually exactly like 2008 didn't happen because the fucking CFO of Lehman Brothers during the collapse of Lehman Brothers was on the board at Silicon Valley Bank. But I'm giving up all my talking points. If anybody is about to debate me here in 30 minutes, they're going to see all of that. But regardless, Normally I don't go into the debate topic, but it is super relevant news, and I wanted to just give you guys a breakdown of what's going on. Because I've yet to see the president's remarks today. All I know is that he gave a 4-minute and 28-second speech, and then
Before
he walked off without answering any questions. This is a completely new and historic thing where we are basically guaranteeing that we're going to insure every single dollar in the banks, which at that point, the banks are nationalized. Like, we no longer have like they're straight up national. Like, we kind of talk about how the central banking is a nationalized fascistic thing, but 100%, there's no market involved in this banking process whatsoever, except what they do with that, what they do with your money that's insured by the state, and like how they choose to invest it. Like, there's a teeny bit of a competitive market there. But if they fail, well then, we'll just print more money. No, they're not nationalized. The profits are still free rolled in private. Yeah. It's like someone was like they took the worst elements of what? When did you text me, Mark?
Hours ago.
Oh, okay. I just haven't looked at my phone. I was like, what the fuck? Hold on. I also realized that my mom called, so let me text her back real quick.
Yeah, sometimes we gotta get back to people,
Sorry about that, chat. I hadn't looked at my phone in forever and realized my mother called. So let me just text her and let her know I'm live. All right. And then I'll plug this.
Try to make a competing currency out in the open. I'll have flowers and a gravestone ready.
I mean,
pretty accurate, Wes Savage. Pretty accurate.
I mean, I was watching Clint Russell talk about this last night. And long story short, I think he's 100% right. I think they're going to let this fail so that they can sell you CBDCs and universal basic income as the solution. So that we can have this fully on central banking digital currency. But regardless, let's see what our illustrious president has to say about this. Dude, I'm so ready to be angry that I don't know how tonight is gonna go. I'm not in a good mood. I'm really I was nauseous researching this shit. There's some stuff I haven't told you that I'm saving for the debate, but it's which will be later on tonight. I don't know how long the first topic will go, so we'll see. But I'm pissed.
Before I leave for California, I want to briefly speak about what's happening in Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Today, thanks to the quick action of my administration over the past few days, Americans can have confidence that the banking system is safe.
What in the fuck are you, what are you talking about? Thanks to my actions, the Americans can have confidence that oh my God, right out of the gate. What world are you fucking living in where banks are, where the second largest bank collapse in the last 100 years occurs, where the market is on banks is tanking, where other banks are collapsing because of panic, where and you're like, well, absolutely, you can now be confident that the banking system, I'm pretty sure everybody was more confident a few days ago, my guy. Biden is taking credit for what the Fed is doing. That means it's no longer private, and he's directing what the independent agency is doing. I mean,
or they're just trying to save what little face that. I mean, I say they're saving little face, but with most of the media running cover for them, they kind of just get to spin the narrative how they want it to be.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Roland, but you're talking about a level of competence that, maybe they're just saying the quiet part out loud, but this has always been true. It's the Fed is not private. it's only kind of private.
Your deposits
Also true.
Your deposits will be there when you need them. Small businesses across the country, the deposit accounts at these banks can breathe easier knowing they'll be able.
Casimir, how many times are you going to try and get people to watch other content during our stream? Like, come on, man. Throw it up in Discord if you have some suggested videos and things for people to check out.
The deposit accounts at these banks can breathe easier knowing they'll be able to pay their workers and pay their bills. And their hardworking employees can breathe easier as well.
I mean, we have to let it collapse. But the problem is that like if we let it collapse, then they're not gonna do anything different, right? So it's like we would go through all of that hardship and economic downturn and things like that for no good reason, because they would just do some other state-based action. Jesus Christ.
And their hardworking employees can breathe easier as well. Last week, when we learned of the problems of the banks and the impact they could have on jobs of small businesses and banking system overall.
Would you just learn that the fucking banks own you? Like, that like banks own this country, asshole. Like, you're just now figuring this out when we just learned about the problems at the banks. Like, how do you not get this? Like, we have massive inflation and the Fed is trying to tamp down on that inflation by raising the interest rates. You thought that nothing would happen to the banks when you do that?
Businesses,
Apparently you didn't.
Banking system overall. I instructed my team to act quickly.
Yeah, no, Casimir, I'm all for the recession, right? The problem is that like they won't actually let a recession happen. What I mean is like if they just let all of these people go, yeah, you shouldn't have invested in a risky fucking bank, right? Then I mean, to be fair, all of these people should be charged with fraud, in my opinion. But no one will go to jail for that. They'll just go walk away rich. But if they let the market correct itself and not step in, yeah, a recession will occur, and that recession it's like a wave. It's like high tide and low tide, right? And when the high tide comes in, it washes down all the boats that aren't anchored, washes them out to sea. But the problem is that the federal government will step in, right? They will do all of this bullshit and this idea of like prime the pump, which will be nothing but like a bunch of rich businesses that should fail getting all kinds of shit from the government, so that they can, because they have friendships and relationships in the state. So it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
I instructed my team to act quickly to protect these interests. They've done that. On
What
Friday,
did they do?
the government regulator.
Janet, the only thing that they did is we heard from Janet Yellen that like we would not do any bailouts. We're not doing any bailouts. And then they did bailouts. So did you direct the Fed to do bailouts while Janet Yellen was fucking lying? Or did your administration attempt to get the Fed to do something different and actually, I don't know, engage in some intelligent economic practice? And then the Fed just went ahead and set up the bailouts anyways, and now you're just lying. Like, which is it? Are you incompetent or are you liars?
They've done that. On Friday, the government regulator in charge, the FDIC, took control of Silicon Valley Bank's assets. And over the weekend, it took control of Signature Bank's assets. Treasury Secretary, I instructed my team to act quickly to protect these interests. They've done that. On Friday, the government regulator in charge, the FDIC, took control of Silicon Valley Bank's assets. And over the weekend, it took control of Signature Bank's assets.
Yeah, but you did it for the Fed. I don't get this. Yeah, I didn't realize that he was citing FDIC taking it over, but not letting it be purchased. Yeah, I kind of have to take that back because the FDIC did do that. I don't know that that's good. I don't know how that's supposed to give us any confidence. The Fed's the one that's bailing them out. The regulators are just controlling how that gets dished out.
Treasury Secretary Yellen and a team of banking regulators have taken action, immediate action. And here are the highlights. First, all customers who had deposits in these banks can rest assured, rest assured they'll be protected.
Right, Roland, Is that what's supposed to be the confidence inspiring? We fixed it was like we refuse to allow them to be purchased. Like, I mean, I guess if that's what he's talking about, like, yay Biden, and by yay I mean that's fucking stupid. Let the market handle this.
I want to rest assured they'll be protected and they'll have access to their money as of today. That includes small businesses across the country that bank there and need to make payroll, pay their bills, and stay open for business. No losses will, and this is an important point, no losses will be borne by the taxpayers. Let me repeat that. No losses will be borne.
That's not how that works. Just because the taxpayers won't pay a tax for this doesn't mean that we won't bear the brunt in inflation.
Or is it because like this is just going to be calculated into what we were going to face with inflation anyways? So like it's just going to zero out. Is that what they think? Is that what they're trying to sell here?
I don't know what he's trying. He's just trying to sell. He's just trying to gaslight you. They're not trying to sell anything. He's just trying to gaslight you into believing that inflation isn't a form of taxation.
By the taxpayers. Instead, the money will come from the fees that banks pay into the deposit insurance fund. Because of the actions that our regulators have already taken, every American should feel confident that their deposits will be there if and when they need them. Second, the management of these banks will be.
What that doesn't, like, that's not action that you've taken. That's action that the Fed has taken with Bank Team Funding Program.
Second, the management of.
I mean, is he claiming that the Federal Reserve worked alongside the FDIC to like fix this, and that the decision was not the Fed's?
These banks will.
That would not be good.
Be fired. If the bank is taken over by FDIC, the people running the bank should not work there anymore. Third.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that they don't work there anymore because they got fired because they sold off $3.6 million in shares in February when they knew that this was happening and then lied to investors. Worse than taxation, they're competing for assets for real estate with American workers, for land with American farmers. This is evil. Yeah.
Investors in the banks will not be protected. They knowingly took a risk, and when the risk didn't pay off, investors lose their money. That's how capital.
What about the people that bought the $3.6 million in shares in February? Are those people not protected? So the businesses in startups and like crypto bros and all these other people, they're protected. The people got fired, but they walk away with millions of dollars that they made fraudulently. They're protected, but the people who won't be protected are the people that invested in the bank. What does that even mean?
Capitalism works. And fourth, there are important.
That's not how capitalism works. Let me tell you, the FDIC taking over banks to ensure that the Federal Reserve prints money out of thin air to protect people who made bad business investments with corrupt fucking companies that get to walk away after committing fraud is also not how capitalism works, my guy.
That's how capitalism works. And fourth, there are important questions of how these banks got into the circumstance in the first place. We must get the full accounting of what happened and why those responsible can be held accountable.
And this is where they're going to blame Trump in the 2018 of changing the limit for the Fed on category 3, right? From 50 billion to 250 billion in assets, because this company at the time managed 230 billion in assets. This is where it's going to be Trump's fault, even though if you actually look at it and you look at their fucking IK10, their 10K, you'll see that they were way over those fucking rates, and additional regulation would have done zero. This is what they're going to do. They're going to go after some form of regulation so that they can have additional fucking regulation so that they can submit every fucking bank to what is it called? Roland, do you know the thing that kicks in category 3? It's like cyclical. What is it? Hold on. It's I apologize. Also, I have to stop saying the F word so much because like it is a lot to edit short videos and edit out those curse words. Sorry. Would have subjected them to counter-cyclical capital buffer, which they were well over the fucking rates. Like no matter how you look at it, they were well over the 3% rate. It would have done nothing. But that'll be what it is, and it'll be like, see, Republicans did this, even though we had 2 years where we did nothing as Democrats. If it was so fucking great, why didn't you do anything when you held all of Congress and the presidency? Huh? Interesting that you did nothing. You just waited for it to collapse and then be like, this is Trump's fault. Guarantee.
Yeah, everyone in government is to blame for monetary policy.
Those responsible can be held.
No, what I was looking for was the counter-cyclical capital buffer, which is like a requirement for Category 3 banks that Category 1 and 2 banks don't have to engage in, which is really just like the Fed coming in and looking at your assets and making sure you have enough cash. Whoa, I like geeked the fuck out on Discord there for a minute. Sorry about that, guys. The problem was that like they had plenty of assets. And the reason is because they count fucking count cash equivalents in T-bills and fucking mortgage-backed securities. It's insane.
Accountable. In my administration, no one is above the law. And finally, we must reduce the risk of this happening again.
No one is above the law except for you and your son. Yeah, Mark, fair enough.
In my administration, no one is above the law. And finally, we must reduce the risk of this happening again. During the Obama-Biden administration, we put
Here it comes.
in place tough requirements on banks like Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, including the Dodd-Frank law to make sure that the crisis we saw in 2008 would not happen again. Unfortunately,
I don't know if it's
the last administration.
What the fuck is happening? I can't pause the video.
Because we were both trying to pause at the same time.
I don't know if it's insane. If you have a link to why mortgage-backed securities shouldn't be counted as cash, I'll take a look at it. Well, you can't pull out mortgage-backed securities at a 1-to-1 ratio. If it's counted as cash as in what you can pull out, sure, right? Because you can liquidate it. But it's counted in cash as its value. At least that's my understanding. What were you going to say, Mark?
I don't remember.
You stoner.
Happen again. Unfortunately, the last administration rolled back some of these requirements. I'm going to ask.
Oh, that's what it was. Of course, we got to go back to fucking Dodd-Frank.
Yeah. Dodd-Frank is, if we would have just maintained Dodd-Frank, this never would have happened. Yes, it would have.
God damn, they love that bill.
Congress and the banking regulators to strengthen the rules for banks to make it less likely this kind of bank failure would happen again, and to protect American jobs and small businesses. Look, the bottom line is this. Americans can rest assured.
No, literally, like it's capitalism, okay? In capitalism, you compete and you take risks, okay? If you're going to regulate it to such a degree that there's no risk, then what you're going to do is you're going to have to, like, then there's no reward. There's no profit motive, which means what are you going to do? Get rid of fractional reserve banking and it just go back to fees? I'd love that, but that's not what's going to happen.
Assured that our banking system is safe. Your deposits are safe. Let me also assure you, we will not stop.
Who's he talking to anyways? He's talking to people with more than $250,000 in the bank. Like, you're talking like
to the 1%.
You know what I mean? I just want to assure you that you're safe, right? Like, are there people out here freaking out and panicking about their deposits not being federally insured?
Your deposits are safe. Let me also assure you, we will not stop at this. We'll do whatever is needed. On top of all of it, let's also take a look at a moment to put the situation in a broader context. We've made strong economic progress in the past 2 years.
Where?
Nowhere. Like he's going to cite numbers, I'm sure, but the numbers are just going to be you guys lifting COVID restrictions. Like that's not economic progress. That's just
and not counting all the people as unemployed who have just outright quit the labor market.
Yeah, the labor participation rate is behind what it was before COVID. Unemployment is higher than it was before COVID. GDP is growth is I think it's slightly above, but I mean like, but not in terms of the trajectory. Like you don't have any metric that like shows that you did a good job with the economy, and you're just going to keep pretending like you did.
In a broader context, we've made strong economic progress in the past 2 years. We've created more than 12 million new jobs, more jobs in 2 years than any president has ever created in a single 4-year term. Unemployment is
Like the level of gaslighting to say that you created these millions of jobs because you just let people go back to work. You made it illegal for them to work. Here's some other metrics. Why don't we look at fucking, oh, I don't know, the overdose rate, the suicide rate, crime, inflation. You know, you're only looking at the things that are guaranteed to have some level of snapback once you get rid of the restrictions. But all of those metrics that don't immediately snap back once you get rid of those restrictions, we don't talk about those.
Well, you know the old saying, lies, damn lies, and statistics, right?
is below 4% for 14 straight months. Take-home pay for workers is going up, especially for lower and middle.
Inflation is through the roof. Take-home pay is not even kept pace with inflation. Real inflation, not the bullshit inflation that the state likes to use. Not even the bullshit inflation that's more accurate that the fucking Fed likes to use. Like, people are making less money and less people are working, and you're just cooking the books to pretend like that's not happening. You lying piece of crap.
Income workers. And we've seen record numbers of people apply to start new businesses, more than 10 million of them. More than 10 million applications.
How many of those are podcasts, do you think?
Right? I don't know. Who knows?
Over the last 2 years, starting businesses. Now we need to keep this progress going. That's what swift action that my administration over the past few years is all about. Protecting depositors, protecting the banking system.
So this is what progress looks like. Heroin overdoses, inflation, less jobs, and by the way, collapsing banks. Meanwhile, China's brokering fucking deals for like Iran and Saudi Arabia to talk to each other and is in talks to start selling oil and yuan. Yeah, this is what progress really looks like. You're on the brink of fucking World War III, and you can't manage that. Energy is through the roof. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve is lower than it's been since 1984. Fuck, man. Progress is looking great. I'm loving this fucking progress.
But at least we're going to bring back more of Dodd-Frank, huh?
Yeah, right.
System, protecting the economic gains we've made together for the American people. Thank you. God bless you, and may God protect our troops. See you in California.
Mr. President, what do you know right now about why this happened? And can you assure Americans that there won't be a ripple effect?
Do you expect other banks to fail, Mr. President?
He just walks away like he's going to the restroom at a Denny's.
Oh my God, wow. He's spry for a crypt keeper. I'll give him that.
We're watching the dollar collapse and no one recognizes it. And the funny thing is that like you'll be considered a conspiracy theorist and a crazy person for saying this because we'll just print more money and people won't notice the problem because the problem will be slow and it'll be some other issue. It'll be Russia's fault.
It'll just keep moving around. It's a shell game. Like everything they do, it's a shell game of figuring out, of just scapegoating.
Thank you for watching. If you made it all the way through this video, then you've got to like, share, and subscribe. Over 70% of you watching aren't subscribed, and it really helps. We're live on Twitch every Monday through Thursday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. And follow us on Twitter for more spicy libertarian takes. Finally, we all know that YouTube is a temporary place for dissidents. One day we'll upset the wrong journalists and be gone. Poof. But it doesn't have to be that way if you make sure to follow us on Rumble. Every video on YouTube is also posted to Rumble, and sometimes we exclusively stream there. Thank you for your time. All links are in the description below.